My best friend saw my husband in Paris with another woman. But he was sitting beside me in the hospital. At 1:17 a.m., my phone buzzed beside my hospital bed. The sound was small, almost polite, but in that quiet white room it felt like glass cracking. I opened my eyes slowly. The ceiling lights had been dimmed. The heart monitor beside me blinked in a soft green rhythm. My left wrist still had the hospital band on it. My ribs hurt every time I breathed too deeply. Daniel was asleep in the plastic chair beside my bed. His suit jacket was folded over his lap. His tie was loose. One hand was wrapped around mine like he had fallen asleep while making sure I did not disappear. For a second I thought the call was from a nurse or maybe from my mother. But the name on the screen was Claire. Claire was in Paris. I answered before the second buzz finished. Claire. There was no greeting. No small talk. Only her breath, quick and broken. Nora. I need you to stay calm. My eyes moved to Daniel again. He did not stir. What happened? Claire swallowed hard. I could hear traffic behind her and music, and the muffled sound of people laughing somewhere far away. I just saw Daniel. My fingers tightened around the phone. What? I saw Daniel, she said again, lower this time. He walked into a private gallery near Rue Saint-Honoré. He was with a woman. Black silk dress. Dark hair. Very expensive jewelry. He had his arm around her waist. I stared at my husband. Daniel Whitman, my husband of 6 years, was sitting 3 feet away from me in Boston General Hospital, asleep under a thin gray blanket a nurse had given him at midnight. He had been there since 8:10 p.m. The nurses had seen him. The security cameras had seen him. I had seen him. He had held the paper cup while I drank water. He had argued with the doctor about my discharge instructions. He had rubbed circles on my palm when the pain medicine made me dizzy. And now my best friend was telling me he had just walked into a gallery in Paris with another woman. Claire, I said slowly, Daniel is sitting next to me. The silence on the other end lasted long enough for my heart monitor to beep 4 times. That's not possible, she whispered. I almost laughed, but the sound got trapped in my throat. No, I said. It really isn't. I know what I saw, Nora. I swear to God. Same height. Same walk. Same camel trench coat. The one you bought him for your anniversary. My skin went cold. The coat. Daniel owned one coat like that. Camel wool, dark horn buttons, his initials stitched inside the left cuff because I had thought it was romantic at the time. DW. I looked toward the small closet near the door. His coat was hanging there. I could see the sleeve from where I lay. Send me the photos, I said. Nora. Send them. A few seconds later my phone vibrated 3 times. 3 photos appeared. The first was blurred by rain on glass. A man stood under the gold light of a gallery entrance, his back turned to the street. The second showed his profile for half a second, just enough to make my stomach twist. The third showed his arm around a woman in a black dress. I zoomed in until the image broke into pixels. The coat was identical. The build was identical. Even the way his left shoulder tilted slightly downward was identical. But Daniel was beside me. I turned my head again. He was still asleep, his mouth slightly open, his hair falling over his forehead. He looked tired, worried, real. That was the worst part. He looked real. So did the man in the photograph. For a moment I could not breathe. Because there were only 3 possibilities. Claire had made a mistake. Daniel had found a way to be in 2 countries at once. Or someone had built a lie using my husband's face. And somehow deep in my bones, I knew the third possibility was the one I should fear most. I did not wake Daniel right away. That was the first thing I hated myself for later. A good wife would have shaken his shoulder and said, "Explain this." A brave wife would have shoved the phone in his face. But I was not good or brave in that moment. I was hurt. And hurt people do strange things when the truth is still soft enough to be shaped by fear. I turned the brightness down on my phone and opened the first photo again. The gallery entrance had a black awning with gold letters, but the rain blurred half the name. I could read only the last word. Maison. Claire sent another message. I followed them for 1 block. They got into a black car. I couldn't get the plate. I'm so sorry. I typed back with 1 hand. Did you see his face? Her reply came almost at once. Not clearly. But Nora, I know Daniel. I know the way he moves. I know that coat. I looked at Daniel's hand still wrapped around mine. His wedding ring pressed lightly against my skin. 6 years of marriage had taught me the map of that hand. The faint scar near his thumb from when he cut himself opening oysters on our 2nd anniversary. The small callus on his middle finger from holding pins too hard. The way his fingers twitched in sleep when he was stressed. If he was lying with his entire body. If someone else was lying, they had chosen the cruelest possible way. Nora. Daniel's voice was rough with sleep. I froze. He blinked at me, confused. Are you in pain? I locked the phone and slipped it under the blanket. A little, I said. He sat up at once. Do you want me to get the nurse? No. It's okay. He leaned closer, his eyes scanning my face. You're pale. I had a bad dream. The lie came out too easily. Daniel reached for the plastic cup on the tray table and held the straw to my lips. Drink some water. I drank because I needed something to do. He brushed a strand of hair away from my cheek. You scared me tonight. I almost said you scared me too. Instead I asked, have you been here the whole time? His brow tightened. Since they brought you in? Yes. Where else would I be? The answer was so simple that it hurt. Nowhere, I whispered. He looked at me for a long moment. Nora, what's going on? I could have ended the silence there. I could have told him everything. But then I imagined being wrong. I imagined showing him the photos and watching his face close, not because he was guilty, but because I had believed a blurry picture over the man sitting beside me. Trust is not glass. People say it is, but they are wrong. Glass breaks cleanly. Trust bruises. It darkens in layers. It swells. It aches even after the first blow is gone. So I said, nothing. I'm just tired. Daniel nodded, but he did not believe me. He kissed my forehead and sat back down. I waited until his breathing slowed again. Then I unlocked my phone and began building a timeline. 8:10 p.m. Daniel arrived at the emergency room behind the ambulance. 8:24 p.m. He called my mother. 8:40 p.m. He signed insurance forms at the front desk. 9:15 p.m. The doctor came in and explained that I had 2 bruised ribs and a mild concussion. 10:30 p.m. Claire claimed she saw him in Paris. Paris was 6 hours ahead of Boston. That meant it was around 4:30 in the morning there when she sent the message? No. My brain stumbled. I checked the timestamp again. Claire had called at 1:17 a.m. Boston time. In Paris, it was 7:17 a.m. But her photos were taken earlier, around 11:36 p.m. Paris time, which was 5:36 p.m. Boston time. At 5:36 p.m., where had Daniel been? I closed my eyes and forced myself to remember. I had been driving back from the bookstore when a delivery truck ran a red light. I remembered the sound of metal. I remembered the airbag. I remembered a man tapping the window, asking if I could hear him. Daniel had been at his office when the hospital called him. He arrived after 8. So at 5:36 p.m., he was not beside me. My breath caught. I opened his messages in my mind, not on his phone. He had texted me at 5:02. Leaving office soon. Want soup tonight? I had never answered because 20 minutes later I was in an ambulance. Could he have left Boston before that? No. He had answered the hospital call around 7:30. He had arrived at 8:10. He could not have flown from Paris to Boston in that time. Still impossible. Unless the photos were not from tonight. Unless Claire had been tricked. Unless the timestamp was altered. I stared at the ceiling until dawn thinned the window from black to gray. When the nurse came in at 6, Daniel woke immediately. How is she? He asked before she could speak. Stable, the nurse said, smiling. Lucky, actually. The doctor may discharge her this afternoon if the dizziness improves. Daniel exhaled like he had been holding his breath all night. I watched him. The worry in his face was not theatrical. His eyes were red. His shirt was wrinkled. There was a coffee stain on his cuff. A man who had just spent the night with a lover in Paris would not look like this. But a man who knew how to act might. That thought frightened me more than the photos. After the nurse left, Daniel checked his phone. His expression changed. What? I asked. Victor called twice. The name moved through the room like cold air. Victor Hale. Daniel's former best friend. His former business partner. The man whose name we had not spoken at dinner for almost a year. Daniel frowned at the missed calls. That's strange. Why? We haven't talked since the settlement meeting. What does he want? I don't know. Daniel set the phone down. I'll call him later. I turned my face toward the window so he would not see what his words had done to me. Victor. Tall. Dark blonde. Same build as Daniel. Same old money posture. Same habit of keeping his left hand in his coat pocket when he walked. In college photos, people used to joke that Daniel and Victor looked like brothers. When Daniel and I first started dating, I once mistook Victor for him across a crowded hotel lobby. It had lasted only 2 seconds, but 2 seconds is enough when a person wants to be seen from far away. By noon, the doctor cleared me to leave. Daniel insisted on driving me home and staying with me. I told him I wanted my mother to come instead. He looked wounded. I saw it. I hated seeing it. But I did not take the words back. Did I do something? He asked quietly while helping me into my coat. No, I said. That was not a lie. Not yet. My mother arrived with soup, worry, and too many questions. Daniel kissed my temple before leaving for a meeting he said he could not miss. Call me if you feel dizzy, he said. I will. He paused at the door. Nora. I looked up. I don't know what changed last night, he said. But I can feel it. My throat tightened. He waited. I said nothing. So he left. The moment the door closed, I opened my laptop. I saved Claire's photos, enlarged them, and checked the metadata. The timestamp showed the images had been taken the night before in Paris. But metadata can be edited. I knew that because Daniel had once handled a case involving forged digital evidence. I zoomed in on the awning. Not Maison. Maison Vert. I searched the name. A private gallery in Paris. Members only. Known for discreet art auctions and private showings. I found photos of the entrance. Same black awning. Same gold letters. Same narrow street. Claire had not invented the place. Next, I searched Victor Hale. His public profiles were almost empty. No recent posts. No location tags. No interviews after the lawsuit. Daniel and Victor had built a legal tech startup together 5 years earlier. Daniel was the mind behind the compliance system. Victor was the money and the charm. For a while they were inseparable. Then came the accusation. Daniel had discovered that Victor moved investor funds through a side account. Victor claimed it was a bookkeeping error. Daniel did not believe him. The company split. Lawyers came in. Friendships ended in conference rooms. Daniel never told me all the details. He only said, Victor knows how to make a lie sound wounded. At the time I thought he meant Victor lied well. Now I wondered if he meant something worse. I called Claire. She answered on the first ring. Nora, are you okay? No. Tell me everything again. Slowly. Claire took a breath. I was leaving a reception near the gallery. It was raining. I was trying to get a taxi. Then I saw him across the street. Or I thought I did. He stepped out of a black car first, then helped the woman out. She was wearing a black silk dress and a sapphire necklace. He put his hand on her waist. They walked inside together. Did he look at you? No. But what? It felt like he wanted someone to see him. I sat up too fast and pain shot through my ribs. What do you mean? He paused under the entrance light. For no reason. Like he was waiting. I remember thinking it was odd. If it was an affair, why stand in the brightest spot on the street? My hands went cold again. A man hiding does not stand under a light. A man performing does. Claire, I said, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Go back to the gallery. Look for cameras across the street. Shops, doorbells, traffic cameras, anything. You're coming here, aren't you? I looked at the discharge papers on the table. I am. Nora, you were in the hospital 12 hours ago. I know. Daniel is going to lose his mind. Daniel won't know until I understand what I'm telling him. Claire was quiet. Then she said, That sounds dangerous. I think it already is. I booked a flight for the next evening, not because I was calm, but because facts mattered. The old me would have rushed to the airport in slippers, powered by adrenaline and fear. But fear makes people sloppy. Whoever had staged those photos, if they were staged, was counting on me being sloppy. I spent the rest of the day collecting proof. I called Boston General and requested a copy of the visitor log. They would not release security footage without a formal request, but the nurse remembered Daniel. She laughed softly and said, "Your husband? The one who asked 3 times if the pain medicine could make you nauseous?" "Yes, he was here all night." I called the garage near Daniel's office. His car had exited at 7:41 p.m., heading toward the hospital. I checked our home security app. He had not come home before the hospital. I checked the closet. His camel coat hung there, initials stitched inside. DW. I touched the letters with 2 fingers. Then I looked at the third photo again. The man's left cuff was visible. I zoomed in. There was stitching there too. Not clear enough to read, but visible. That detail made the room tilt. The coat in my closet was not the coat in the photograph. There were 2 coats, or someone had copied the initials. That evening, Daniel came home with groceries, soup, and the careful expression of a man trying not to ask the wrong question. "You should be resting," he said when he saw my small suitcase by the bedroom door. "I'm going to New York for 2 days. The lie was planned. That did not make it easier. My mother's cousin is sick. Mom asked me to come with her." Daniel stared at me. "You can barely walk across the room without holding your side." "I'll be careful. I'll come." "No." The word landed too hard. His face changed. I softened my voice. "I need to do this with her. It's family. I'm your family." I looked away. There are moments in marriage when a silence becomes a third person in the room. That night, ours stood between us and breathed. Daniel set the grocery bag on the counter. "Is this about Victor?" he asked. My heart kicked. Why would it be about Victor? Because he called again. And because you looked strange when I said his name. What did he want? Daniel loosened his tie. He said he was in Paris and wanted to talk. The room went still. "Paris?" "Yes." Daniel studied me. "Nora, tell me what's going on." My hand went to my phone. For 1 second, I almost showed him everything. Then a thought stopped me. If Victor was involved, and if Daniel confronted him too soon, we might lose the only chance to catch him. "I don't know yet," I said. Daniel looked like I had slapped him. "You don't know yet," he repeated. "I need time." From me. I had no answer that would not hurt him, so I gave the worst one. "Yes." He nodded once slowly. Then he walked into the guest room and closed the door. I did not sleep. At 4 in the morning, I sat at the kitchen table with Claire's photos, Daniel's hospital records, and a list of questions. Who was the woman? Why Paris? Why Claire? Why that coat? Why now? The answer to the last question came just after sunrise. A news alert appeared on my laptop. Whitman vs. Hale arbitration hearing set for next week. I read the article twice. Daniel and Victor's final settlement hearing was scheduled for Monday. If Daniel won, Victor would lose his remaining claim to the company and face a possible referral for financial misconduct. Monday. 5 days away. A scandal now would not just hurt Daniel as a husband, it would hurt him as a witness. A man caught lying to his wife could be painted as a man comfortable with deception. A man with a hidden affair in Paris could be painted as a man with hidden motives. I leaned back in the chair. This was never about me. Or rather, I was not the final target. I was the weapon. Claire met me at Charles de Gaulle the next morning with dark circles under her eyes and guilt written across her face. The moment she saw me, she hugged me too hard. Pain flashed through my ribs, but I did not pull away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Stop saying that. I should have taken clearer photos. I should have followed them longer. You did enough." "No." I panicked. "I thought I was protecting you." "You were." She looked at me. "Do you think it was Daniel?" I answered honestly. "No." Relief crossed her face, then confusion. "Then who?" "I think someone wanted you to think it was Daniel." Claire drove us into the city. Rain streaked the windshield. Paris looked soft and gray like a painting left outside too long. On any other trip, I would have pressed my face to the window and admired the balconies, the cafes, the narrow streets. That morning all I saw were cameras. Street cameras, doorbell cameras, hotel cameras. Every lens was a possible witness. Maison Verte sat on a quiet side street behind a black door and a discreet brass plaque. In daylight, it looked less mysterious and more expensive. The kind of place where secrets wore tailored coats and spoke in low voices. Claire stopped across the street. That's where he stood. She pointed to the awning. I looked up. A warm gold light hung above the entrance. Even in daylight, I could imagine how it would frame a man at night. Like a stage. We tried the gallery first. A woman in a black suit answered the door. Her hair was silver, cut sharp at her jaw. May I help you? My name is Nora Whitman, I said. I need to ask about a private event 2 nights ago. Her expression did not move. Maison Verte does not discuss clients. I'm not asking for client information. I'm asking whether this man entered your gallery. I showed her the blurred photo. She looked at it for less than a second. I cannot help you. Can't or won't? Claire asked. The woman's eyes flicked to her. Both, perhaps. I stepped closer. Someone may be using your gallery to stage evidence in a legal dispute. For the first time, something shifted in her face. Not surprise. Recognition. Then it vanished. You should leave, she said. The door closed. Claire swore under her breath. She knows something. Yes, I said. And she's afraid of it. Across the street, a small bookshop had a camera above its door. The owner was an older man named Luke, who listened to our story with the grave patience of someone who had seen many strange things and no longer rushed to judge them. You want footage from Wednesday night, he said. Yes. Why? I showed him the photo. He adjusted his glasses. Ah. My pulse jumped. You remember him? I remember the scene. The scene. Luke nodded toward the gallery. The man stood there too long. In the rain. People who enter Maison Verte do not linger on the street. They arrive, they disappear. That is the point. Can we see the footage? Claire asked. Luke hesitated. Then he looked at me, at the hospital bracelet still hidden poorly beneath my sleeve, at the way I held my ribs when I breathed. 5 minutes, he said. The footage was grainy but clear enough. At 11:34 p.m., Paris time, a black Mercedes stopped outside the gallery. The driver got out first and opened the rear door. A woman in a black silk dress stepped onto the sidewalk. Her hair was dark and pinned low. A sapphire necklace caught the light at her throat. Then the man appeared. Camel coat. Daniel's height. Daniel's build. Daniel's posture. My stomach turned even though I knew it was not him. The man placed his hand at the woman's waist. They walked 3 steps toward the entrance. Then he stopped. He turned slightly toward the street. Not toward the gallery. Toward the place where Claire had been standing. My hands began to shake. Luke paused the video. You see, he said softly. Yes, I whispered. The man had not been caught. He had posed. Can you zoom in? Claire asked. Luke did. The face blurred when enlarged. The rain distorted the profile. But one thing was visible. The man's left hand. A thin pale scar ran across the knuckle of his index finger. I knew that scar. Years earlier at our apartment, Victor had sliced his hand open while opening a bottle of champagne with a kitchen knife. Daniel had called him an idiot while wrapping the wound in a towel. Victor had laughed and said, "Scars make men look honest." I stared at the screen. Victor Hale had been wearing my husband's coat, or a perfect copy of it, and he had wanted Claire to see. Luke let us record the footage on my phone. He refused money, but accepted Claire's promise to buy books from his shop for the rest of her life. Outside, the rain had stopped. For the first time since the hospital call, I could breathe without feeling like the world was folding in half. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Nora Whitman, a man said warmly. The voice had not changed much. Victor. I looked at Claire. She saw my face and went still. Victor, I said. I heard you were in Paris. My fingers tightened around the phone. From who? He laughed softly. Paris is smaller than people think. What do you want? To talk. Properly. Daniel and I have history. You and I do too in a way. We don't. That hurts. No, it doesn't. A pause. Then his voice changed just a little. I know you have questions about what Claire saw. The street noise seemed to fade. What do you know about that? I know enough to tell you that you should be careful before deciding who deserves your trust. Are you threatening me? Of course not. I'm inviting you to lunch. I almost laughed. Lunch. Cafe Avellini. 1 hour. Come alone. He hung up. Claire grabbed my arm. Absolutely not. I'm going. Nora. I won't be alone. You'll sit nearby. And I'll record everything. You're injured. I'm angry. That's not the same as safe. No, I said. But it's better than scared. Cafe Avellini was the kind of place where the chairs were uncomfortable because the people who ate there wanted to be seen, not relaxed. Victor arrived 11 minutes late. Of course he did. He wore a navy coat, no camel trench, and a smile that belonged in a courtroom. Nora, he said, leaning in as if to kiss my cheek. I stepped back. His smile widened. You look well. I was in a car accident 2 days ago. I heard. Terrible. From Daniel. No. Then from who? He pulled out his chair. You always were direct. You barely knew me. I knew Daniel. That was close enough. I sat down slowly, keeping my phone face down on the table, recording. Victor ordered espresso in French. His accent was better than Daniel's. That annoyed me. Why are you here? I asked. In Paris? Business. What kind? Art. Technology. Reputation. That last one sounds honest. He smiled. Reputation is the only currency that matters when money is already assumed. Did you call Daniel from Paris? I did. Why? To make peace. You don't make peace 5 days before an arbitration hearing. Victor's eyes sharpened. There he was. Not the charming friend from old dinner parties. Not the wounded partner from articles. The man beneath the polish. I see Daniel has been talking. Daniel hasn't told me enough. Then maybe you should ask why. I'm asking you. Victor leaned back. Daniel likes to be the clean one. The principled one. It's a useful costume. Costume, I repeated. His gaze flickered to my face, searching. He wanted to know how much I knew. So I gave him a little less than I had. Claire saw a man outside Maison Vert. He looked like Daniel. Did he? Victor said. She thought so. And what do you think? I think someone wanted her to think so. Victor lifted his espresso. His hand turned. The scar across his index knuckle flashed pale against his skin. I looked at it. He noticed. For the first time, his smile faltered. Nice scar, I said. His jaw tightened. Old accident. With champagne. He set the cup down. You remember that? I remember a lot. Then remember this. Daniel is not as innocent as he lets you believe. If you have proof, show me. Proof is a dangerous thing. It depends who holds it. So you don't. Victor leaned forward. His voice lowered. You came all the way to Paris because one photograph made you doubt your husband. Don't pretend doubt needs proof. It only needs permission. I felt the words land. That was the cruelest part. He was right. Not about Daniel. About doubt. A blurry photo had not convinced me. It had given my fear permission to speak. I stood. Victor looked amused again. Leaving so soon? Yes. Tell Daniel I said hello. I looked down at him. No. You can tell him yourself on Monday. The amusement left his face. I walked out before my hands could start shaking. Claire followed me 3 minutes later. Well, she asked. It was him. You're sure? Yes. Did he confess? No. Then how do we prove it? I opened the video from Luke's shop and paused on Victor's scar. We start here. The woman in the black dress was harder to find. Maison Vert would not help. Victor would not tell us. The car had no visible plate in the footage. The driver's face was hidden by an umbrella. So we followed the one detail she had not hidden. The sapphire necklace. Claire worked in art consulting, which meant she knew 3 people who knew 6 people who could identify a necklace from a bad photo and a worse description. By evening we had a name. Elise Marceau. French. 29. Independent art appraiser. Known for authenticating private collections and digital art transfers. Former consultant for Hale Whitman Systems. My heart stopped at the company name. She worked with Daniel? Claire asked. With Daniel and Victor, I said. There were no recent photos of Elise on public social media, but I found an old conference image from 18 months earlier. She stood at the edge of a panel, wearing a white blouse and the same sapphire necklace. Her face was calm, almost severe. Beautiful, yes, but not in the way Claire had described from across the street. There was fear in her eyes. Once I saw it, I could not unsee it. We found her through a listing for a gallery talk the next afternoon. I went alone this time. Claire hated it, but Elise would run if she felt cornered. The gallery was bright and modern, all white walls and polished concrete. Elise stood near a sculpture, speaking to an older couple in a low voice. In daylight, she looked younger than I expected. Her hair was pulled back. She wore no sapphire. When she saw me, she stopped mid-sentence. She knew my face. That was enough. I waited until the couple walked away. Elise Marceau? Her expression closed. Yes. My name is Nora Whitman. Her hand tightened around the tablet she was holding. I don't know you. But you know my husband. I know many people. And Victor Hale. She looked toward the exit. I stepped aside, not blocking her path. I'm not here to hurt you. That is what people say when they want something. I want the truth. Her laugh was small and bitter. Truth is expensive. Did Victor pay you to walk into Maison Vert with him? Her face went pale. I don't know what you mean. I opened my phone and showed her the video. She watched without blinking. When the clip ended, she whispered, "You should not have that." But I do. You don't understand. Then explain it. Elise looked around the gallery. Not here. We walked 2 blocks to a quiet church courtyard. The stone benches were damp from rain. Bells rang somewhere in the distance. Elise sat with her back straight, as if posture were the last piece of dignity she could control. Victor said no one would be harmed, she said. I almost laughed. He used my husband's face to stage an affair. He said Daniel had stolen from him. And you believed him? I believed I had no choice. There it was. The sentence people say when the story has a locked room somewhere. What does he have on you? I asked. Her eyes filled but no tears fell. My brother. I waited. He has a gambling problem. Worse than that, really. He borrowed money from people who do not send polite reminders. I covered what I could. Then Victor found out. He offered to make the debt disappear if I helped him with one small thing. Pretend to be Daniel's lover. Not exactly. What do you mean? I was told to attend the gallery with Victor. To wear the black dress. To wear the sapphire. To let him guide me inside. He said someone needed to see us, but he did not say who. Did you know he was pretending to be Daniel? Elise closed her eyes. I suspected when I saw the coat. The initials? DW. My stomach turned. He copied the initials. Yes. Why the sapphire? Elise touched her bare throat. Because it is recognizable. Because it makes people remember the woman but not her face. I sat very still. Victor had not only staged the man, he had staged the memory. A camel coat for Daniel. A sapphire necklace for the woman. A bright doorway for Claire. A rainy street to blur the truth. Every detail had been chosen to survive as a rumor. Why Claire? I asked. Elise shook her head. I don't know. I did. Claire was my oldest friend. She was emotional, loyal, and in Paris for only 3 days. She would call me before thinking. She would not go to the police. She would not confront the man. She would become the perfect messenger. Victor had not sent me a photo. He had sent me a witness. That was smarter. And meaner. What was supposed to happen next? I asked. Elise looked at me. You were supposed to accuse Daniel. My mouth went dry. Publicly. Privately first. Then Victor thought you might contact a lawyer. Or leak the photos. Or confront Daniel near the hearing. He said once Daniel was unstable, everything else would be easier. Unstable. The word burned. Elise finally cried then. Quietly. Without drama. I am sorry, she said. I wanted to hate her. It would have been easier. But she looked less like a mistress and more like a woman who had been cornered, until she agreed to become a prop in someone else's cruelty. Will you testify? I asked. Fear snapped back into her face. No. Elise. No. You don't understand what he can do. I understand more than you think. She stood. Then understand this. Victor does not only destroy people with lies. He destroys them with pieces of truth arranged in the wrong order. Then she walked away. That sentence followed me back to the hotel. Pieces of truth arranged in the wrong order. Was that what he had done to Daniel in the company split? Was that what he was doing to me? I sat on the edge of the bed and called my husband. This time when Daniel answered, I did not hide. Nora. His voice was careful. I closed my eyes. I'm in Paris. Silence. Not shocked silence. Wounded silence. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. I know. My eyes opened. What? Your mother called me. She thought I was with you in New York. I didn't correct her. Daniel. Were you ever going to tell me? Yes. When? When I knew what was happening. And what is happening? I swallowed. Claire saw someone outside Maison Vert. She thought it was you. He was wearing a copy of your anniversary coat. The one with your initials. It was Victor. Daniel said nothing. Daniel. I'm here. I have video. I have the scar. I found the woman. Her name is Elise Marceau. Victor used her. He wanted me to accuse you before the hearing. Still nothing. I pressed my palm to my eyes. I should have told you from the beginning. Yes, he said. The word was not angry. That made it worse. I was scared. Of me. Of being wrong. Of being right. I don't know anymore. Daniel breathed out slowly. I spent the last 2 days thinking I had lost my wife and no one had told me why. Tears came then. I'm sorry. I wish you had trusted me enough to ask before you trusted a photograph. I didn't trust it. You followed it to another continent. The truth of that struck harder than accusation. I know. He was quiet again. Then he said, Are you safe? I broke. Does even hurt? That was his first question. Yes. Is Claire with you? Yes. Send me everything. The photos. The video. Elise's name. Victor's messages. Do not meet him again alone. I won't. I'm flying tonight. No. The hearing. The hearing is about Victor. So is this. Daniel, if you come here angry, he'll use it. I'm already angry. I know. But we need to be smarter than him. That stopped him. For the first time in days, I heard the Daniel I knew return. The lawyer. The strategist. The man who could take panic and turn it into a plan. What do you suggest? He asked. I wiped my face. We let Victor think I still doubt you. Daniel was silent. I don't like that, he said. Neither do I. What else? We get him to say why he did it. Or we get Elise to help. She won't if she's scared. Then we give her something stronger than fear. What? A way out. Daniel arrived the next morning. I waited in the hotel lobby with Claire, my ribs aching, my hands cold. When he walked through the revolving door, I almost stood too fast. He looked exhausted. His coat was dark, not camel. His jaw was unshaven. His eyes found mine at once. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he crossed the lobby. I expected him to stop a few feet away. I expected anger first. Instead, he wrapped his arms around me carefully, avoiding my ribs. I held on to him like the floor had shifted. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know. I should have told you. I know that too. That almost made me laugh. Almost. Claire excused herself with the subtlety of a woman sprinting from emotional discomfort. Daniel and I sat in the corner of the lobby beneath a plant too perfect to be real. I showed him everything. He watched the footage from Luke's camera 3 times. On the 3rd time, he paused on Victor's hand. That scar, he said. Yes. Daniel's expression turned cold. Not loud cold. Not dramatic cold. The kind of cold that made me remember he had once dismantled a hostile witness, so gently the man thanked him before realizing he had lost. He copied my coat. And your initials. Daniel stared at the screen. He always hated that you gave me that coat. What? The night of our anniversary party. He made a joke about it. Said monograms were for men afraid no one would remember their names. That sounds like him. Daniel handed back the phone. What did Elise say? I told him. When I finished, his face had changed again. Her brother's debt, he said. You know something? Victor used the same method before. Not with gambling debt. With immigration status. Medical bills. Tax problems. He finds pressure points. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel looked at me. Because after the split I was ashamed. Of what? Of not seeing it sooner. Of bringing him into our life. Of defending him for years when people warned me. I reached for his hand. He let me take it. There are apologies that fix things. And there are apologies that only mark the place where repair begins. Ours was the second kind. That afternoon we met Elise together. She almost walked away when she saw Daniel. He stood back and raised both hands slightly. I'm not here to threaten you, he said. She looked at me. I nodded. We sat in the back room of a quiet tea shop. Elise kept her coat on. Daniel spoke first. Victor told you I stole from him. Elise looked down. Yes. He lied. I know that now. No, Daniel said gently. You know he lied about the Paris scene. You don't know the rest. He placed a folder on the table. Inside were copies of bank records, emails, legal filings, and a timeline of Victor's transfers. Elise read in silence. Her face changed slowly, not with shock but with recognition. Like some part of her had suspected the truth and hated herself for needing proof. He used people, Daniel said. You are not the first. But you can be one of the last. Her fingers trembled on the papers. My brother. I know a criminal attorney in Paris, Daniel said. Not connected to me. Not connected to Victor. Nora can give you her name. If your brother is in danger, get legal protection. Do not let Victor be the only man offering rescue. Elise closed her eyes. A tear slipped down her cheek. What would I have to do? Tell the truth, I said. That sounds simple only to people who have not been punished for it. Daniel nodded. Then don't start with the whole truth. Start with one recorded call. Elise looked at him. He continued. Victor thinks Nora still doubts me. He thinks the plan is working. He needs her to act before Monday. That means he will contact her again. And if he doesn't? Claire asked. Claire had arrived halfway through and now sat beside me, tense and pale. Then Nora contacts him, Daniel said. I felt his hand tighten under the table. He hated the plan. But he understood it. That night I texted Victor. I need to talk. You were right. I don't know who to trust. He replied 11 minutes later. I'm sorry you had to learn it this way. I stared at the message. Not I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to learn it this way. The language of a man who wanted to sound sad while holding the knife. I typed back. I need proof before I do anything. His reply came faster. What kind of proof? Something that shows Daniel was connected to Elise. Something I can use. For 3 minutes there was nothing. Then, come tomorrow. Same cafe. Alone. Daniel read the message over my shoulder. No, he said. Yes. I'll be nearby. You and Claire both. And Elise, he said. Elise. If he brings forged proof, she may identify it. If he mentions her, we need her reaction. If he sees her too soon, he'll run. But nearby. I looked at him. We sound like criminals. No, Daniel said. We sound like people dealing with one. The next day, Café Avellini looked exactly the same. That felt insulting. How could a place remain so calm after becoming the center of my life for 48 hours? Victor was already there this time. He stood when I approached. Nora. I did not sit. You said Daniel wasn't innocent. I said you should be careful. I'm done being careful. He studied me. Good. I need proof. Victor gestured to the chair. I sat. He placed a slim envelope on the table. Inside were 4 printed photos. Daniel and Elise in the same room. Daniel and Elise beside a conference table. Daniel handing Elise a folder. Daniel leaving a hotel lobby while Elise stood behind him. For 1 second, the old fear rose up again. Even after everything. That is the thing about doubt. It does not disappear when disproven. It waits for another shape. Victor watched my face. These are from 18 months ago, he said. Ask yourself why your husband never mentioned her. I forced my voice to shake. Were they involved? Victor leaned in. I don't enjoy telling you this. Liar. But yes. Daniel has always had a talent for making women feel protected. My stomach turned not from belief but from anger. Did Elise tell you that? She didn't have to. Then how do you know? Victor sighed. Nora, do not make the mistake of needing a confession. Men like Daniel never confess. They arrange facts until you feel foolish for noticing them. Pieces of truth arranged in the wrong order. He was describing himself. I touched the photos. What do you want me to do? Protect yourself. How? File a statement before Monday. Say you discovered Daniel hid an affair with a consultant tied to the company dispute. Say you fear he used marital assets to cover it. You don't have to prove everything. You only have to raise concern. There it was. The ask. The weapon finally placed in my hand. And what happens to Daniel? I whispered. Victor's eyes softened with fake pity. That is no longer your responsibility. I looked past him. Across the street, Daniel stood inside Luke's bookshop, watching through the window. Claire was beside him. Elise stood half hidden near the back shelf, her face white. I turned back to Victor. You're very good at this, I said. At what? Making destruction sound like advice. His expression flickered. I lifted my phone from my lap. The recording timer glowed red. Victor went still. You should be careful, he said. I am. He reached for the envelope but I pulled it back. These are mine now. You have no idea what you're doing. I do. For the first time all week I do. He stood so quickly the chair scraped the pavement. Then Elise stepped out of the bookshop. Victor saw her. The color drained from his face. Elise crossed the street slowly. Daniel followed, not too close. Claire stayed near the door, phone in hand. Victor, Elise said. Elise, he replied. You should not be here. That is what you say to everyone you use when they stop being useful. His jaw tightened. Walk away. No. The word was small. But it changed everything. Victor looked around. People at nearby tables had begun to watch. He lowered his voice. Think about your brother. Daniel stepped forward. That sounded like a threat. Victor laughed but it came out wrong. Daniel. Always arriving at the dramatic moment. You arranged the moment, Daniel said. We just attended. Victor's eyes moved between us. For the first time since I had known him, he looked cornered. Not beaten. Cornered animals are dangerous. You think a recording proves anything? He said. No, Daniel said. But the recording, the forged implication, the copied coat, the bookshop footage, Elise's testimony, and the message asking Nora to file a statement before arbitration will make a very clear pattern. Victor's smile returned, thin and sharp. Elise won't testify. Elise lifted her chin. Yes, she said. I will. Victor turned to her. You ungrateful little. Daniel moved between them before the sentence finished. His voice stayed low. Finish that sentence carefully. Victor looked at my husband, then at me. And then he did something that chilled me more than rage would have. He smiled. You still don't understand, he said. This was never only about the hearing. Daniel went still. What does that mean? Victor buttoned his coat. It means you should ask your wife why it was so easy. My throat tightened. Easy. To make her doubt you. The words hit exactly where he aimed them. Then he walked away. No shouting. No confession. No final villain speech. Just one last piece of poison dropped into the space between us. For a moment none of us moved. Then Daniel turned to me. Victor had meant for him to look hurt. He did. But he also looked tired. So tired. I wanted to say he's wrong. But he wasn't. Not completely. It had been too easy. A photograph, a coat, a friend's voice, and I had left the country without telling my husband. Victor had built the trap. But some part of me had stepped into it. That was the part no evidence could fix. The legal part moved quickly after that. Daniel's attorney filed an emergency motion to include evidence of witness manipulation and attempted reputational interference. Elise gave a sworn statement. Luke provided the original security footage. Claire gave her account of what she had seen and how she had been positioned to see it. The copied coat became physical evidence when Elise remembered the tailor's bag Victor had carried into the car that night. The tailor denied involvement at first, then produced payment records under pressure. Victor had ordered a camel coat with Daniel's initials stitched inside the cuff. Not because he wanted to become Daniel, because he wanted to become a doubt. By Monday, the arbitration hearing was no longer only about old finances. It was about a pattern, pressure, manipulation, half-truths, people pushed into roles they did not understand until the damage was done. Daniel did not let me attend the hearing, not because he wanted to hide anything, because he said, "You have been used enough." I argued. He won, partly because he was right, partly because my ribs still hurt and I was too exhausted to pretend I was fine. I waited with Claire in a hotel room that smelled like coffee and rain. At 4:42 p.m. Daniel called. "It's over," he said. I closed my eyes. And Victor lost his claim. The panel referred parts of the record for criminal review. Claire covered her mouth. "What about Elise?" I asked. "She's protected for now. Her attorney is working with local authorities. Her brother too." I breathed out for what felt like the first time in days. "And you?" Daniel was quiet. "I'm coming back to the hotel." That was not an answer. I knew it. So did he. When Daniel returned, he looked like a man who had won in public and lost something private on the way. Claire left to get food we did not need. Daniel sat across from me near the window. Paris glowed behind him. I had imagined this moment differently. In the version Fear wrote, he would forgive me at once because the danger was gone. We would cry, hold each other, and the story would know where to end. Real life is not that generous. "I don't know how to feel," he said. The honesty hurt. "About Victor? About you?" I nodded. "I know. I understand why you followed the evidence. That doesn't make it right." "No." He looked down at his hands. "I keep thinking about that first night. I was sitting beside you in the hospital. I was scared you had a concussion. I was scared you would stop breathing if I fell asleep. And you were lying there thinking I might have been in Paris with another woman." Tears blurred my vision. "I didn't want to think it. But you did." "Yes. Why didn't you ask me?" There were many answers. None of them were good. Because I was afraid. Because I did not want to see your face if you were guilty. Because I did not want to see your face if you were innocent. Because some small, ashamed part of me believed that if I found the truth alone, I could control how much it hurt. I said the last one. Daniel looked at me for a long time. Then he nodded once. "I can understand that. Can you forgive it?" He looked out at the rain. "I want to." Again, not the answer I wanted. But the truth rarely arrives dressed as comfort. "I'll earn it," I said. He looked back at me. "That's not how I want our marriage to work. I don't want you earning your way back like an employee after a mistake." Then what do? We tell the truth faster. The sentence was simple. It became the first rule of our repair. Tell the truth faster. Not perfectly. Not without fear. Just faster than the lie can grow. We flew home 2 days later. Claire stayed in Paris to finish her conference, though she called me every morning and every night as if I might vanish between time zones. Elise sent one message before we left. "Thank you for giving me a door that was not Victor." I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it. Not because I wanted to forget her. Because some stories do not belong to us after we survive them. Back in Boston, the apartment looked unchanged. The same book stacked on my nightstand. The same blue mug in the sink. The same camel coat hanging in the closet. Daniel stood in front of it for a long time. "Do you want to get rid of it?" I asked. He touched the sleeve. "No. Really. Victor doesn't get to take every good thing he copied." So the coat stayed. But Daniel stopped wearing it for a while. I understood. Objects remember what we attach to them. For weeks, our home was quiet in a new way. Not cold. Careful. Daniel told me when Victor's attorneys called. I told him when a memory from Paris made my chest tighten. He told me he was angry without making me beg him not to be. I told him I still felt ashamed without making him comfort me before he was ready. It was not dramatic enough for a movie. No one gave a speech in the rain. No one renewed vows under candlelight. We rebuilt in small sentences. I should have told you. I'm hurt today. I need 10 minutes. I believe you. I'm trying to. Tell me again. And slowly, the third person in the room grew smaller. 1 month after Paris, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was one printed photograph. The original image Claire had taken. The man in the camel coat. The woman in black. The gold-lit doorway. On the back, someone had written one sentence. You only saw what was already there. Daniel found me holding it at the kitchen table. For a moment, the old fear rose again. Then I did what I should have done the first night. I handed it to him. He read the sentence. His face hardened. Victor? I asked. Maybe. What do we do? Daniel took out his phone and photographed the front and back. We send it to the attorney. Then he looked at me. And we don't let it sit between us. I nodded. He tore the photograph in half. Then in quarters. Then smaller. Not because paper has power, but because sometimes the body needs to see what the mind has chosen. That night, Daniel wore the camel coat to dinner. Just a small neighborhood place, nothing special. Soup bread, rain tapping the window. Halfway through the meal, he reached across the table and took my hand. Not like everything was fixed. Not like Paris had never happened. Like he was choosing the hand again. I held his back. A marriage does not survive because no one ever doubts. That is a childish idea. People doubt when they are scared. They doubt when the evidence looks sharp. They doubt when old wounds find new proof. They doubt because the human heart is not a courtroom. And love does not erase fear. A marriage survives when truth is not afraid of being checked. When questions are not treated as betrayal. When silence does not get more loyalty than the person sitting beside you. And when two people learn to tell the truth faster than fear can turn it into a story. I still keep one thing from Paris. Not the photo. Not the envelope. Not even the copied coat records. I keep the first timeline I wrote in the hospital, folded inside the back of my journal. 8:10 p.m. Daniel arrived. 8:40 p.m. insurance forms. 9:15 p.m. doctor. 1:17 a.m. Claire called. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, I had written one question. Who do I trust? Months later, I added the answer. Not the photo. Not the fear. Not even the person I love without question. I trust the truth we are willing to face together. Because the most dangerous lies are not always the ones people tell us. Sometimes they are the ones arranged carefully enough that we begin telling them to ourselves. And that is why, when the phone rings now in the middle of the night, I no longer hide the screen. I reach for Daniel first. Then I answer.